We Love Wrestling Spotlight with the young, sexy cannibal Savannah Evans. You know, just want to tell you off top how I met you. All Out weekend, about a week before last year, on Saturdays I was watching YouTube videos and I came across your name. And I was like, oh, a black girl out here suplexing everybody, beating people up, calling herself a cannibal. I was like, cool. So we fast forward to All Out weekend. We sitting in the lobby in Chicago. I'm by Danielle. And I look up and I say, hey, she looked like Savannah Evans. I was watching her on YouTube last week. And they was like, that is Savannah Evans. I was like, nah, she wasn't on no cards here this weekend that I seen. They was like, that is her. I'm like, whatever. So then we see you again. They like, that's Savannah Evans, bro. And I'm like, because you like walking right by us. And I'm like, oh, snap, it is. So I was so like flabbergasted. I was like, can I take a picture? So I just took the picture and sat back down. But I was like, man, I was just watching her and she's right here. So,
yeah.
I appreciate you wrestling. How did you get involved in wrestling? What made you love wrestling?
I mean, gosh. Okay. So I know a lot of people that are super into wrestling, or a lot of people that wrestle, they get into it when they're really, really young. I think I started watching maybe like 10-ish. So I feel like I was late coming to the wrestling thing. My dad had always like tried to get me to watch it with him, sit down and enjoy it with him. But I kind of wasn't interested at first. I think when I first saw it, it was like maybe an episode of like, Nitro or Thunder, Nitro, whichever. And I really wasn't into it. And then maybe fast forward a few months later, I'm at my grandpa's house and him and my uncles and my dad are watching WWF. And I actually take the time to sit down for a minute and I was just like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I don't know. I think it is, what wrestling is to a lot of people. It was the bright lights, the bigger than life characters, the outrageousness of it, but also the physicality of it too. I think, everything that we think about, we think of wrestling, that's what drew me in, at 9 or 10 years old at that time.
So when you got started with it, who did you go to get trained by? I see you're in the North Carolina area, but who's the person who you said, okay, I want to wrestle? Who did you go and they gave you the ropes on it?
Yeah, so I wanted to, growing up, I was like, oh, wrestling is cool, but I never thought too much about this is something I can actually do. Like this is, that people have schools and you can get trained to do this. I think I was just like, oh, that'd be cool to try. I don't know, how to do that. So I graduated high school and my family moved. So at the time I was living in Colorado. My family moved back to North Carolina at that time. And I started seeing stuff about, local wrestling shows going on. And I didn't know what a independent wrestling company was at that time. And so I decided to check out a show or two, started, seeing like who all were on those shows. I met Caleb Conley and Cedric Alexander, who they train at the High Spots Training School, George South. And that's who I got started with. Like that's, they told me about the school, I came to check it out. And then, the next week I was starting. So my trainer is George South, also, Caleb Conley, and then Cedric Alexander had a hand in training me as well. As a few others, like I don't want to like discredit anybody, but the High Spots Training School is what I tell people. That's where I learned how to wrestle. It's where I train.
High Spots Training School. That's the same High Spots that sends out the different wrestling items and everything.
Yeah. So the High Spots warehouse and the High Spots training facility, they're both in Charlotte, North Carolina. I forgot to put that up there, but they're both in Charlotte. And yes, it's the same High Spots that you buy, your DVDs or, the High Spots Wrestling Network online if you're not into physical DVDs. But yeah, the t-shirts, all that stuff, we make it there in the warehouse. Minus the wrestling rings, those get made, hour and a half away by a dude named John Moses, who's also a photographer, is very talented. But everything else is pretty much, we make a lot of stuff in the warehouse.
Okay. So you was talking about the ring. So I see that you was a part of tag team. This start with Big Swole, that's with AEW now. and then a trio, the Sexy Young Caramels, I believe the name was.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also do some intergender wrestling. So, like being trained by guys, was the intergender wrestling? Is that something that you like? You're used to, training with guys and everything?
So, because I do train with guys, wrestling guys, it doesn't seem that weird to me because, when you're training at practice matches and you're wrestling them, the only difference is the crowd. When you do it in the ring in front of crowd at a show, it's different, and you have to definitely approach it differently. Sorry. It's gotta make sense. Like, I see a lot of intergender wrestling that's out there, and I'm glad for it getting out there, but I think sometimes not always done the best. Like, you got to be smart about what you're doing and how you're doing it. It's a certain way to do it and to do it well.
So I think I want to jump in with a question because we've done quite a few interviews and definitely always try to check for perspective on things. So just staying like in the lane of intergender wrestling, like, what are some gifts about it and what are some curses? Because like you know how you mentioned like it has to make sense, but a lot of times like when you see the intergender wrestling, like it's two totally different individuals, right? They definitely wouldn't have been paired up if we just threw genders out the arena, right? So it would be someone way taller, and someone a little more stocky or heavier up against, like, so how, like, what is it like actually like wrestling someone who, is probably twice your size or maybe even smaller than you?
Yeah, before super deep in that, just right off the bat, I think a lot of promoters were open to having me wrestle guys on their show because I am a bigger girl. I think you have to be careful about certain things when it's a much, much smaller girl versus a large man. But on some shows I'm as big as most of the roster. So I think it then becomes in the realm of, for some people that don't quite get it, it becomes a little more, oh, okay, well, at least, they're of the same size, even if they don't agree with a man wrestling a woman. But I think there's just, once you get in there and you do it, like, I really enjoy working with the guys, to answer your other question. I think sometimes there are things that you can do with guys that you can't do with girls. Not a knock on either guys or girls, but like creative wise, there's a lot of different things that you can do there. And I think it's a lot of fun to kind of hear the crowd's reaction. What are they biting on? What are they not biting on? If it's comedic, are they getting this part of the comedy, or, do you have to dig a little deeper for it? Like, it's different. I really enjoy it though. Of course, I enjoy working with girls as well. I really enjoy the intergender part. I just realized I never answered your question about teaming with Big Swole.
Oh.
So I'll loop back around to that. Yeah, I love Ariel. We started out training the same place. Like, she trained George South as well. So we kind of, in the wrestling aspect of things, we were brought up together, essentially. That we were trained the same way. At the same time, I think she came in like a few months after me, full time, and was just, so we got to work with each other a lot. Later, when we both were in Queens of Combat, which is a local women's promotion here in Charlotte, we were able to team up, and that I think for me was the most fun because we got to play off of each other. Like, her personality rather is so big. Like, it's hard not to be able to play off of what she does and, piggyback on things that are going on with her. So I definitely enjoyed working with her. Like, she's, there's my dog. She's super amazing. Everyone knows that. But I really enjoyed our time as the tag team. And then we got made into an entire group with Devin Nicole. So we were a trio, an all-black trio in the South, in an all-women's promotion, just kind of having fun, like bringing our flavor to what we were doing in our matches and stuff.
So how is it? You said an all-black women's trio in the South. Do you get any flack when you're trying to get bookings being a black woman?
So, I feel like about the time when we were trying to make, us more than just Queens of Combat, like going to other companies, different kind of things came into play, and eventually the three of us ended up disbanding. But I think it would have been great to see, what we could do in other promotions, but we were strictly in Queens of Combat. So we didn't have to really deal with, like other bookers, like how they would think about it. But I would really like to think that promotions would be open to that kind of thing. And an all black female trio, like, we had personality, like, I don't remember a tag team. I think like it was a long time ago. It was a couple of years ago. Like at that time that was, doing fun stuff the way we were, wrestlers that weren't on TV anyway.
Now, in this pandemic time, have you been working, or what have you been doing in this time, waiting to get back into the ring? Have you still been, I know you probably still been training, but have you been going to work and everything?
Yeah, so for a little bit, I wasn't going to work. Obviously, they had shut down the whole state of North Carolina. I want to say it was the very end of the third week of March, it would have been, is they declared, state of emergency or shelter in place for North Carolina. First for just the county of Mecklenburg, which is where Charlotte is. We were shut down a few days before the whole state because we had the highest number of cases in the whole state. So then a few days later, just the whole state was shelter in place. So I wasn't working, those weeks, but I have since been able to go back to work and, you know what I mean? Like kind of break up the monotony of previously when it's just, okay, we're sitting here for weeks and not really doing much, but trying to do the most that you can to get up, be active, go outside, and be productive. But yeah, I was really thankful that, when I was able to go back to work, to kind of break up that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any shows that are coming up? A lot of places are opening back up. Before all this happened, I would be on the internet and I see that you're in Tennessee or Florida or might be up in New York somewhere. So are people booking you? Are you ready to get back out there?
Oh man, that's such a two-sided, a double-edged, question. Like, man, we're all ready to get, back in the ring in front of people. Cause you get, it sounds lame to say you get a rush, but like it gets you going, like being in front of people and performing your craft for everyone to enjoy. So definitely ready to get back in the ring. I have a couple things on the horizon. One of them is and you guys may have seen it, the GCW, the Florida GCW show. It's actually going to be in Indiana at the end of August. So yeah.
It's like 5 miles away from my house where y'all going to be at.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. That'll be at the end of August. I'm really looking forward to that one. Since then, I've had a couple other shows that I was approached about. One of them I haven't seen anything about, but I'll have to check in and see if it's still happening. But it would be the middle of July, and I believe that's IWE in Augusta, Georgia, is where they normally run typically. But again, I haven't heard super details about that yet, so they may have had to move their date. But I do think that there has been a show in Georgia recently, so it could be something that's actually all right over there. And then I have a show, my first one coming up is July 4th, so Independence Day. It's going to be local. It's for charity. They're not charging people to come in or anything like
Harry.
And it will be broadcast on Facebook.
We've interviewed a tag team who's also participated, so I'm trying to get Terry to come on over. Because I'll be there. I'll be there for your show, and
Yes. Okay. And of course, I was a little not skeptical, maybe just cautious about taking that when it was so early. It's literally around the corner. But I really thought about it. It's for a good cause, and not to mention it's also Moss's. I believe it's his father's birthday as well. Either his father or his grandfather.
Oh,
So it's a couple good bright spots coming out of the show.
Yeah.
So I definitely, I was like, you know what, I am going to do this show. So
yeah.
Looking forward to that one, July 4th.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely looking forward to that show. That show is going to be amazing. I'm trying to get Terry. Come on, this is like the third or fourth person going to be on the show. Come on, Terry.
We'll see. We will see. If I receive my stuff by next Wednesday, I'll drive down. Plus, I've only been to Charlotte once, and I got a whole bunch of cousins there. So,
Charlotte's nice. It's really growing. It's pretty cool.
But I got to ask you this since it's in my backyard. You going against Kylie King at the GCW Pro Show? She's the champion. It's the title in your match?
Yes, it is a women's title match.
Okay, so when you win, I'm going to be at the show. I got to get a picture with you with the title.
I like that. I like that lingo when I win, because that's what's happening.
Yeah, I'm hoping you do it. I mean, I expect you to win. I'm rooting for you, I hope that you do win. I mean, you will win, so I don't even know what I'm saying.
He's going to win for the culture.
What?
The hashtag for the culture.
For the culture.
And me and Kylie have wrestled one other time before, so I am actually super looking forward to that.
Who won the first time?
Shoot, oh man.
Oh, pandemic things.
I want to say I did. It was either last year or very, very late the year before, but it was for Queens of Combat. So if you do have the High Spots Wrestling Network, you should check it out there.
How much is the High Spots Wrestling Network?
It's $9.99 a month.
Listen.
$9.99. It's cheaper than the WWE Network.
Sure is.
Exactly. It's a lot of popular promotions are on there too, so it's worth checking out. I feel like. So
one of my last question is, I've seen you wrestle a lot of different women out here. Is there anyone that you haven't wrestled that you're looking forward to wrestling? And could you name maybe 2 or 3 people who are your favorite people to wrestle?
Yes. Names that I would love to wrestle that I haven't, independent wrestlers. And this list has not changed since I started wrestling. So, or since the first time I was asked this question, I'll say that. And that list, that is Thunder Rosa, La Rosa Negra, and Deonna Purrazzo.
Okay.
Thunder Rosa, that's very interesting.
It is very interesting. So, who, I think you also asked Terry, who were like maybe 2 or 3 of your favorite opponents?
Yes.
One of my favorite opponents is actually James Drake. As crazy as that sounds.
Yes.
He chopped the mess out of me in both of our matches, and it's weird. I just really enjoy working him because we can always go tell that good story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, and then I will also go with Lindsay Snow. I've worked her probably 4 times total, 3 times recently, and I love every time. Like we got that the chemistry that melds well together.
You have a third, or is...
Oh, let me think.
One more. That JD Drake is interesting. JD Drake is interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how much more interesting. So one person, I'll go along with this. One person that I liked wrestling that I want to work again is Soraya Knight. A lot of people know Paige's mom. Yeah, I worked her in a 3-way match for Wildcat Wrestling. It was me, her, and Ruby Ray's out of California. I would love to work her again too. And this was not a match. It was a street fight. It was legit a street fight. Like there were trash cans and like broomsticks and beer cans. And it was probably the first time I'd ever worked anything like that. And it was, you know, it was like a learning experience. And like she beat my ass, but I learned a lot from it, and it was fun. I would definitely like to do it again.
Do you saying Sarai, you ever wrestled in Shimmer before? Because you know she's every year.
Yeah, so I debuted in Shimmer. Maybe it was 2017. I worked cheerleader Melissa. I don't remember. I don't think it was Shimmer 100, but it was maybe a couple before that one. So maybe like 98 or 99. I don't really remember. And I want to say that number is correct. I think I haven't looked up recently, but I got the opportunity to work her again at some South Carolina shows last year. So I was really glad I was able to do that. But I definitely want to get the opportunity to go back to Shimmer again, for sure.
Well, I got to let them know. Last year they were just asking about people to come, and one of the people who I posted to them, actually, they brought them in. So gotta make sure that we get you there.
Yeah. I feel like never underestimate the power of like social media and people like supporting you and vouching for you and wanting to see you at the show. Like that's so huge.
I mean, I'm good, man. I'm still like this here, like, yo, I'm talking to like you, like I got like top list of female wrestlers.
Yeah, you're on top.
You're like in my top.
Are we crossing one off? Oh,
okay. Like,
okay.
Hey, okay, you know, you top 5, you know what I'm saying? And it's not because you're black. I mean, all the suplexes you do, but let me not get into it again because I could go all day.
Well, we could have like a part 2 of this interview. I can come back anytime you guys want.
Definitely.
Love to hear that. Matter of fact, we should do a live one after you win the title again at GCW Pro.
Yes.
Set it up.
Right from the show. Let's do it.
Right from the show. Let's see. Well, it is Savannah Evans, this young cannibal. I appreciate you just spending this time with us, and
you can drop your
your social media.
All your social media, or where we can maybe purchase your merch and all of that. Little self promotion.
Yeah. So I just maybe like a month ago finally opened up a pro wrestling tee store. So you can find my first t-shirt design from a few years ago is there. It first had like very limited runs, but people liked it. I just brought it back. And then, you know, my most recent shirt is up there too. Hopefully some new ones coming out soon. My social medias are Instagram and Facebook, Savannah EVS. And then the Twitter, because someone else has Savannah Evans as their Twitter, but has not used it in like 8 years. But my Twitter is Savannah Evans, the letter N, the letter V. And you can follow my dog on Instagram if you'd like to. It's Cowboy the Pitbull.
That showed up in my suggested people, and I was like, wow, who, like, that's probably why it showed up. Wow, that's crazy.
That's him. That's him.
That's hilarious.
Savannah Evans, we appreciate you. This has been the We Love Wrestling Spotlight with Savannah Evans and Danielle. As you know, if I love wrestling and you love wrestling, then we love wrestling.
We love wrestling.
Too sweet.
Sweet.
Yes. This is the cannibal, Savannah Evans, and I love wrestling.